blue-collar wage growth, the only other time it's been this high, wait for it, was during President Trump's first term. So we've seen real wages for hourly workers, non-supervisory workers, rise almost 2% in the first 5 months.
Why is that?
No president has done that before.
And why is that?
It's the president's emphasis on manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the blue-collar boom. The Trump administration celebrating a massive growth in wages for working-class Americans. Wages rising at an annual rate of 1.7% so far this year. That's real or adjusted for inflation. The largest increase in pay for blue-collar workers since 1968. I was 15 then, Steve.
No, you were 3.
You were not. You weren't even born, David.
It was right the year before. What's causing it so early in the president's term?
Well, I think the fact of the matter is people, even though there's uncertainty about the future, there's been such a scarring from the inability to get workers in the past that if you have people who are skilled, people who are staying, you want to keep them. And so it's a nice rise, but not a big one. But the thing that we have to look at in the future, though, is so much of pay today is taken up with health care costs. $20,000, $25,000 for a family, that's crazy. Now imagine if you could get, I'm surprised the president pushed this yet, imagine if you could get liability insurance, real liability insurance, which you can for $5,000 or $6,000, and take the other $20,000 extra pay. Don't you think people would take the extra pay and pay out of pocket if you need a filling? You bet they would. That's what we need is real free markets. But it's good wages are right. Remember, in Trump's first term, you saw a general rise in wages when you had a nice tax cut, deregulation, tariffs not hanging over the air.
Right.
And guess what happened? Everyone went up, especially lower income workers. So higher rises in wages than did middle and higher income workers. So prosperity works, and that's what we need. We're seeing the beginnings of it. We just have to make sure we get that big, beautiful tax bill with real tax cuts in soon.
On that note, Dagan, did you see this? The big, beautiful bill, the White House sends out an immediate release saying what that big, beautiful bill will mean in terms of long-run wage increases, but also sort of an immediate take-home pay increase for a typical family with 2 kids. New York, you guys, we made it. We're on there. They think that we could see a take-home increase of anywhere from $85,000 to almost $15,000 if you're a typical family with 2 kids. So it comes on the passage. Tons of money. It's a ton of money, Jackie. You're right. Again, assuming that we get the BBB.
That it passes. Listen, inflation took a bite out of American families' paychecks, their savings, and ultimately their futures. And that was Joe Biden's inflation that reached 9.2%. It was really staggering. So to see President Trump back in office, voted in on so many fronts, not just the economy, but on the economic side, to really care for and put blue-collar workers first is so refreshing, and that's why they voted for him. I mean, Joe Biden was supposed to be the union president. He was supposed to be your middle-class, blue-collar guy. And what the Democrats have actually done, and as we know, Joe Biden wasn't really there. The auto pen was working in his place. But the new, modern Democrat Party that has gone progressively more left really actually wants to kill the middle class. They don't want a middle class. When you look at socialist models or even the communist model, you have a very high, super rich elite consisting of very few people, and then you just have everybody else. There is no middle class, and that's what makes this country so special and so great, that people have that opportunity to rise up than just some class that they're given in, and they might fall in different rungs of that middle class, but it's there. If you do away with that, then I don't see how we would be different than any other socialist or communist society, really.
And you see a real division between union leadership and union rank and file between workers. You saw that in the steel situation. The workers on the ground wanted Nippon involved with U.S. Steel because they knew they needed massive investment to keep that company going, get it up to speed again. Union leaders were opposed. So that's why Trump did far better among the workers than he did among the leaders.
The workers want a paycheck. The leaders want political clout.
Right.
Yes. And paycheck wins over political clout.
Because in that elite system, they'll get taken care of, the union leaders.
This is a great number. I would not rest on my laurels on this number. I think a lot of it is a result of inflation coming down, which is good. I mean, workers, these are real wages. So inflation has come back quite a bit in the first part of this year. Workers are getting a raise. But I remember that first term Trump boom, when you had folks at the bottom end of the income scale getting the biggest gains, you had minorities getting the biggest gains. And the number one reason for that is because the tax cut went through and growth went up. And it was growth, which Democrats hate, liberals hate growth. They never want to talk about growth. They want to talk about equity. It was growth that helped those who needed the most help on the income scale. So for this to continue, for what the Treasury Secretary is touting, and he should tout it, but inflation can only do some of the work. Growth is going to do the most work to give these guys the biggest wage gains, especially for blue-collar workers, and especially when you get full expensing for capital equipment and you get full expensing for factories. So if you want to know why you got to get the big, beautiful bill done, the reason is because you want to see this number grow, and that is the only reason it will grow.
And make the bill more beautiful. They need to put in cuts for corporate taxes. The president wanted down to 15. They should cut the capital gains tax. And on this whole thing on SALT, what they should do is cut the income tax rates for 22, 24%. That covers most of the people in the blue states. Cut it back to 15. You get incentive. You don't have to worry about the deductions anymore because your after-tax pay is going up. That's the whole point.
There you go.
But I don't understand why the Republicans can't grasp that.
Why are the Republicans...
It's dangerous to bring up SALT anytime near the end of a block because SALT is a salty issue on this show.
Why did the Republicans not only not kill the Green New scam promised by President Trump, which the conservatives in the House tried to do? They cut 60% of it. The Senate Finance Committee expanded it again, it pumped oxygen into it. By the way, Steve, you brought up health care. The Senate Finance Committee left out the House's expansion of health savings accounts.
True.
And other measures aimed at expanding private insurance options. Why'd they do that?
Because they're all really devoted to these crazy projections that you have to meet because of the Congressional Budget Office. What they should do is say what is right. They should vastly expand health savings accounts, give more power to patients like we're starting to do in education, and cut these tax rates because that gets growth. And as you just pointed out, the only way you get out of the mess we're in today is with economic growth.
But they're not, because there were 37 members.
That's where the president has to weigh in. They did good on Medicare in terms of the Senate, but they really went backwards, as you pointed out, on these energy things, these green scams.
Yeah.
And once those scams are in, impossible, as we see with ethanol, to get them out.
Right.
So this is the time to do it.
Because they extend past the end of President Trump's term, that makes them permanent in essence.
That's right.
And there were a few dozen conservatives in the House who sent a letter saying we need $1 in spending cuts for every dollar in additional spending, and they added $800 billion in additional permanence in taxes plus interest. And so they're going to kick it back to the House, and you watch, those conservatives are going to demand more spending cuts out of them.
Well, get those tax cuts in, get the good parts in on Medicaid, on getting rid of the green scams, cut some tax rates. The people with eye shades will howl. That's good. Economy grows, people will be happy. Guess what? Prosperity makes everyone happier.
I like that.
Dollar for dollar. I want my money.
Cut your tax.
I want mine too.
Yeah. Stop your spending. Cut my taxes.